Hey everyone, I'm Clayfect, and today we're going to dive right back into the world of the unseen creatures by Richard Barlow. Now, we all know about the tiresome task of cleaning out dust, but today I want to try to convince you to take a break for about 15 minutes and leave that little dust pile alone while we are creating the dust herder. And maybe, just maybe, he will move it for you if you ask politely. Feel free to pause and look at the pages some more if you want to. Even though the dust herder aren't the prettiest unseen creature, he does look cool. So without further ado guys, let's get started.
He took 100 pounds of clay and then he said, hey listen, I'm gonna fix this world today because I know what's missing.
So with the dust herder we are actually going to do something pretty difficult today. You see, when you're working with a baseless sculpture like I usually am, it is very important that you have these, let's call it connection points, and that they are in balance. The more connection points you have, the easier it is going to be to balance the sculpture. But as you saw in Mr. Barlow's very captivating journal, the dust herder walks on two legs, which means there are only two connection points. And it would not be impossible to balance our little guy on two legs, but it would be very difficult. That is why I was playing around with the pencil at the start, because we are going to incorporate it in our sculpture, which are going to make our little guy more sturdy, but it is also going to make the sculpting process way more finicky. Which was quite surprising for me, because I thought texturing our little dust herder would be the most difficult task. Because how do you texture dust? Well, I did it with a small ball stylist, making a squiggly pattern all over the place, except for his stomach that had this spiral pattern. But while I play around with the brush and get started on the lower half of our little dust herder, why don't we hear what Richard Barlow has to say about them?
Richard Barlow, log, 4th of August 1950. The Dust Herder. I have known about the dust herder since my days as a student at the university, but I have kept postponing writing about them. Since the specimen that I have based most of my observations on has become a near and dear friend to me. But given recent events, I feel I owe it to Piff to tell about the dust herders. Hopefully I will do him and all other dust herders justice. Compared to the majority of unseen creatures, the dust herder is a highly intelligent and is able to use tools and other objects in its daily life. Their sole purpose in life is to gather and herd dust bunnies, a task these small creatures take very seriously. The dust herder is a dedicated, hard-working creature. They are usually quiet, even though they do have sort of a primal language that consists of a wide variety of coughing and sneezing sounds. I myself am now fluent in this language, thanks to Piff, who has shown me how fulfilling a more simple life can be.
And with that, it's back to me and back to more fluff, where we are going to fluff this mother-fluffer, literally. Because after I was done texturing our little dust herder, I started to rub liquid Sculpey in different places on him. Wow, that sounds dirty, and I have no idea why. Anyway, I did that on his chest, his knees, and his tail. Before I placed some fluff I had made by scraping some super Sculpey with my dentist tool. I have to say though, I didn't think that there were any somewhat intelligent unseen creatures after I read about the wheatling. Links down in the description below. So I was personally surprised when I realized I had to make this figure look clever in some way. But back to the sculpture. With all his fluff on, he was finally ready for his third bake. Yeah, we are number 3. Before I sanded him down, making him as sturdy as possible. And with our dust herder being somewhat stable, it was time to make the arms and have an all too real struggle with the brush. So while I'm doing that, why don't we hear a little bit more about this unseen creature?
The dust herder's biggest enemy is the sock snatcher, which lives of dust bunnies. That is why you see the dust herder often wear a sock as a cape or turban, so they can quickly use the garment to distract the hungry sock snatcher. If that fails, they use their herding staff to bonk the sock snatcher on the head, which usually get the message across. The dust herder's staff never leaves their side. They often use old pencils or paintbrushes, but really any small staff-like object will do. The dust herder is not picky and is very resourceful. So if you find a pile of dust bunnies with a sock or staff-like object in it, it is very important that you leave it be. The dust herder is fully aware that they belong to the unseen category and will not hold a grudge. But they gather the dust bunnies to make new dust herders, and their piles are very important to them, though Piff is holding off on introducing more bunny to his herd. I don't think he is ready for fatherhood just yet, to my wife's relief.
The more unseen creatures I sculpt, the clearer this unseen world becomes to me, and it's almost like an ecosystem. It's very fascinating to me. Even though when I read the stories and make the sculptures, I sort of get dizzy and black out a bit. It is almost like the creatures are sculpting themselves, you can say. But that just shows that there are way more to this story than what I initially thought. And that is why I will continue on our investigation, figuring out this story, my husband's family line, and so on. Because after Mr. Barlow mentioned the sock snatcher, linked down in the description below, by the way, I realized that there's an entire world for us to uncover. And I can't wait to get started. Though, not right now. Right now, we are making ahead. And for once, I'm actually fine with not having a recollection about how I sculpted the thing. Because I don't like the face. I really don't. Now, I do realize that I might cause a riot at my home of dust bunnies for saying that. Because Lord knows that I definitely got a dust herder or two. But I need to be honest. And honestly, the dust herder aren't going to win any beauty pageants. However, they are just as important as anyone else. So of course we are venturing on detailing the face. And while I'm doing that, I feel like it's a good time to ask you to like, comment and subscribe if you haven't already done so. Don't you feel like this is a good moment to ask you to do that? Yeah, it does feel like a good moment to ask you to do that, so please go do it if you like what I'm doing. Now with that out of the way, it is time to place the head before we get started on making the neck and blending it all together. And I have to say, even though the dust herder aren't embracing the cuteness as much as I would have liked, it does look cool, however, in its own way. And from what I can remember, I really had fun sculpting it. Even the texture I usually curse out, but I had fun making it. I really think it helped giving this dusty look we were going for. And with the head textured, I could move on to something I actually do remember making, the sock. Remember when Richard Barlow talked about they use socks to derail the sock snatcher? I thought that was pretty smart, so of course our little dust herder should also have a sock cape. which is why you see me smooshing the clay with a sock. I thought I was pretty smart doing that, and use some thin plastic in between the layers so it would have an opening. With the clay sock done and textured, I yet again equipped my sock to place the sock. I thought that I was pretty smart, but the truth of the matter is you're barely going to see any sock texture when I get to painting. That doesn't stop me, however, from placing what hopefully are going to look like a rubber band around the neck holding the sock in place. Now, I don't know why, because Richard Barlow didn't describe them as such in the journal, but I sort of pictured the dust herders like the small, dusty MacGyvers, finding and making things they can use on a daily basis. They do sound like these clever and resourceful small guys, sort of the opposite of the sock snatcher, but I guess you have to be like that if you're going to survive the vacuum cleaner. But with his ears now shaped and on, all we had to do was texture them before we fluffed the rest of his face up. And I really do feel like the fluff made all the difference, especially when I started to fluff off his eyebrows, so to speak. After his face was adequately detailed, it was time for the oven, and then I started to chop and hack in the brush he's holding to make it look older. I also cut away the support wire in his hand to make it more realistic. And with all that done, I got to painting. And while I'm doing all that I just described for ya, why don't we hear the last Richard Barlow has to say about the dust herder?
If you let the pile be, you will have an unseen friend for life, hiding in the darkest corners, camouflaged in dust. I myself found a letter Piff had brought me from an unknown benefactor who is willing to support my research and take my family out of financial ruin. I, of course, do have a lot of questions, but I have to be careful when obtaining the answers. There's probably a reason for them to remain anonymous, but with so much money I've been giving each month, I need answers. As for the dust herders, my conclusion is that they are as important as any other unseen creature, if nothing else than to keep the sock snatcher in place. I do still think that it is best to keep all unseen creatures a secret for now. I mean, think of the panic it could cause in housewives worldwide and in the cleaning industry if they knew a small, fluffy creature needed the dust. I will not be responsible for that, and neither will Piff.
A benefactor? Now that is interesting. It's possibly a new lead, when I think of it. Anyway, back to the sculpture, now we are painting. Where my only goal actually was to make the dust herder look as sturdy as possible, and his sock as used as possible. That is why I did the painting process sort of backwards, starting with a lighter color and then went darker and darker. I painted an assortment of light grey colors on him before I stained him, and then painted him again with some darker grey colors, all different in patches. All in the hope of making our little dusty dust herder dusty enough. I gave the sock some stripes just to give him a little pop of color, because believe it or not, I'm actually pretty tired of the color grey at this point. Before I used a very delicate technique called the finger to blend a lighter color into the stripes, again to make the sock look worn. After painting the small details on, like the nails, the rubber band and his face, all he needed was a little bit of cleanup, and I think that is it for this sculpture and it for this video. Thank you so much for watching, I hope you like the little dust herder, enough for both of us in fact, because, like I said, I am not a fan. But he does belong to the unseen family, which plot really thickens, doesn't it? It is good to hear that Richard Barlow has gotten out of his financial troubles, but I need to look at this benefactor. I think this might be the lead we have been looking for. But last guys, unfortunately, it is time for me to sign off. I hope to see you next time, but if you can't wait until next time, why not click on the square to the right where you're going to see a cute little love lizard get made. But until then, as we would say here in Denmark, hold da munter.